Welcome once again to your favorite lesson in biology on Senior Teleclass. Today we are going to discuss lessons for senior high school Form 2. So, today we are going to look at mammalian anatomy and physiology. Mammalian anatomy and physiology. That's what we are going to start our lesson with. This is for Form 2. We will start lesson 1 and it will be under nutrition. So, at the end of this study, you should be able to understand what nutrition is, look at the types of nutrition, and then also look at the importance of nutrition and any other discussions we may have around nutrition. We all know when you were in Form 1, you learned what we call life processes. And the life processes were the activities that living things undergo that differentiate them from non-living things. And one of the life processes that we talked about was nutrition. We said that living things undergo nutrition. So, mammals basically undergo nutrition because they are also living things. So, what is the definition for nutrition? We say that nutrition is a series of processes by which organisms takes in and assimilate food substances and use them to provide energy for growth and activities, and reproduction. I repeat again, nutrition is a series of processes by which organism takes in and assimilate food substances and use them to provide energy for growth, activities, and reproduction. Now, so we all take in food one way or the other. And this is the one that enables us to be able to undergo all the other activities that we do. So let's ask ourselves, why do we actually take in food? Or we say, why does living things undergo nutrition? So it's the importance of nutrition. So let's list some few of them around and look at what later on what we use it for. The first one, we say that nutrition provides materials for growth. When you were born, you were just small, just a baby. But based on the types of food you took, we say nutrition enables you to grow, develop, add cells to your cells. You grow, addition of cells or protoplasm. Nutrition also provides energy. It's the one that you derive energy from, that enables you to be able to walk, do all the activities, run, do the other activities that living things undergo. Mostly this energy helps you to do that. Then nutrition also provides materials for protection, because you notice that these nutritions helps you provide things that enables you to build your immune systems. There are several vitamins that helps you to protect yourselves. So we say nutrition provides materials for protection. They repair worn out tissues. Now, when you build your tissues for growth, at times you will see that some of the tissues become damaged, or we say worn out. How do you repair it? You take in another food to enable you to repair these worn out tissues. Then, general maintenance of the body is mostly as a result of nutrition. So these are some of the importance of nutrition that we look at. Let's look at types of nutrition. Types of nutrition. Now, if you are looking at types of nutrition, we will say we have autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. If we say autotrophic, what actually do we mean? You remember, you've heard the word auto before. It has been used in autobiography and so many things in your English languages. So if you say autotrophic, auto means self and trophic means feeding. Therefore, autotrophic nutrition will be the process by which an organism uses sunlight or chemical energy to synthesize organic food substances from simple inorganic substances. It's the process by which an organism uses sunlight or chemical energy to synthesize organic food substances from simple inorganic substances. And this word is loaded. What does it actually mean? It means this organism, they are able to manufacture their own food from simple inorganic substances. When we say inorganic substances, what do we mean? You see, inorganic substances are things that actually does not come from living things. So imagine, this world does not contain any living thing. Or we've placed ourselves within an environment where there is no other living things. All that you find are non-living things. Or we say inorganic substances. Like water, like light, carbon dioxide, soil, rocks, these things. These are non-living things. Are you able to convert these inorganic substances into organic food for you to be able to survive? Because without nutrition, you will not survive. So these living things, organisms that are able to use these inorganic substances, which we say they are non-living things, and convert them to organic food substances. If you're able to do that, we say you are autotrophic. You are self-feeding. Now, we said that auto means self and trophic means feeding. Therefore, autotrophic will mean self-feeding. And these organisms use sunlight, energy in sunlight or chemical energy. So if you use this energy from sunlight or from chemical energy to synthesize basically means to manufacture organic food substances from simple inorganic food substances, then we say you are undergoing, that organism is undergoing autotrophic nutrition. So, if you are undergoing autotrophic nutrition, then we are saying that you are actually manufacturing your own food. We say you are manufacturing your own food. Let's look at types of autotrophic nutrition. Types. We have what we call photosynthetic nutrition. And then chemosynthetic nutrition. If you remember, we just went back. Last time we said that the definition for autotrophic, we said that they use sunlight or chemical energy. Let's look at the definition again. We say it's a process by which an organism uses sunlight or chemical energy to synthesize organic food substances. So you can use light or sunlight, or you can use chemical energy. This is the one which is bringing about the types, where we say that we have photosynthetic nutrition and chemosynthetic nutrition. You realize that this photosynthetic comes from light, and those the chemosynthetic also come from chemicals. Now, therefore, photosynthetic nutrition is a type of autotrophic nutrition in which an organism uses energy from sun or light to synthesize organic food substances from simple inorganic substances. So, a photosynthetic nutrition is the type of autotrophic nutrition in which an organism uses energy from sun or light to synthesize organic food substances from simple inorganic substances. What does it mean? It means that this photosynthetic nutrition, the organism is deriving its energy from sunlight or light in order to be able to convert these simple inorganic substances into organic food substances. So they are manufacturing their own food, all right, but they use energy from sunlight. So it's this energy from sunlight that enables them to do that. That is why we call them photosynthetic. Photosynthetic means they are synthesizing the food from sunlight. Now, so photosynthetic organisms are referred to as generally, we call them photoautotrophs or phototrophs, or we say they are holophytic organisms, or we say they are holophytic organisms. So when you see a photosynthetic organism, you can also refer to them as photoautotrophs or phototrophs or holophytic organisms. Now, how do they do this? If you are asked to explain what phototrophs are, the organisms which use energy from sunlight to synthesize organic food substances from simple inorganic substances. That is what we've stated that already. Now, phototrophs, or we say photoautotrophs, or photosynthetic organisms include, let's look at some of the examples. Green plants. So all green plants that you have seen around, green plants, all types of plants that we know, maize, rice, mango, whatever, palm fruit, palm plants, or what I should say, or any green plant you have seen. Both aquatic, some are in water, some are terrestrial. So long as it is a green plant, then you say that it is a photosynthetic organism, or we say it is a photoautotroph. Then algae. These are not plants. Algae are not plants. We say they are prototists. They are prototists. So even though they have plants, characteristics of plants, but they are not fully developed into plants. So in classification, we group them under prototists. So algae, there are several of them. Spirogyra, sea lettuce. We have brown algae, red algae, and green algae, which include Spirogyra and sea lettuce. All of them have chlorophyll. Therefore, they are photosynthetic organisms. So they are example of phototrophs or photoautotrophs. Then we have photosynthetic bacteria. You should know that a bacteria is a prokaryote and therefore doesn't come under a prototist or plants. But there are some bacteria that are able to undergo photosynthesis. Because they are able to undergo photosynthesis, we call them photosynthetic bacteria. So they are also included in phototrophs or photoautotrophs. Now, let's look at the photosynthetic bacteria. So let's look at some of the photosynthetic bacteria and see how they undergo their photosynthesis. These are types of bacteria that contain light-absorbing pigments or reaction centers, which makes them capable to convert light energy into chemical energy. These are types of bacteria that contain light-absorbing pigments and reaction centers, which makes them capable to convert light energy into chemical energy. Now, thus, they undergo photosynthesis to produce organic substances, which is the food, basically glucose. But you should know that the type of light-absorbing pigment in bacteria is quite different from that in plants. Some have the same in plants, while others have different. So let's look at them. So let's look at types of photosynthetic bacteria. You can have, we normally have two types. We have the one which is cyanobacteria, which the light-absorbing pigment used by cyanobacteria is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. Then, the next one, then all other forms of bacteria uses the bacteriochlorophyll. Bacteriochlorophyll. So, cyanobacteria uses the normal chlorophyll that plants use. But all the other forms of bacteria that undergo photosynthesis use another forms of pigment called bacteriochlorophyll. Now, let's look at cyanobacteria. How does it do it? Cyanobacteria perform photosynthesis using water as an electron donor in a similar manner to plants, since it contains chlorophyll. So, in effect, it does the photosynthesis that we know already. If you remember, photosynthesis, we say you have carbon dioxide plus water giving you, let's say, glucose, and then you produce oxygen as your byproduct. So you can have carbon dioxide plus water. When you have sunlight and then chlorophyll, presence of chlorophyll, your product will be glucose. That is why we say you are producing your own food. Then you produce oxygen as your byproduct. This situation, cyanobacteria does the same thing because it also contains chlorophyll, which normally happens in plants. So we say that the result is the production of oxygen as the byproduct. I've already given you that. So basically, your cyanobacteria is undergoing the normal photosynthesis that plants do. It is therefore using water. This cyanobacteria is performing photosynthesis using water as electron donor. So the normal photosynthesis that plants do, which you know already, is the same thing that cyanobacteria does. Cyanobacteria is also called blue-green algae. You've heard it before. So they contain chlorophyll. Now, the process is known as oxygenic photosynthesis. I repeat, is what? Oxygenic photosynthesis. Because oxygen is produced as the byproduct. So if cyanobacteria undergo photosynthesis, the same as plants, they produce oxygen as byproduct. They use water as the electron donor. And then they combine with carbon dioxide to produce glucose and oxygen as the byproduct. Because oxygen is evolved as at the end of the reaction, we call the process as oxygenic photosynthesis. Now, therefore we have oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria. Oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria. These are the cyanobacteria that produce oxygen at the end of their process. These contains chlorophyll. That is the oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria. They contain chlorophyll. They absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen during photosynthesis. So if you are asked, what is oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria? You must say that these are bacteria that contain chlorophyll, and they absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen during photosynthesis. Now, let's continue to the other forms of bacteria. Remember, I said that the first form for bacteria, which is the cyanobacteria, also called blue-green algae, they contain chlorophyll. And I said that all the other forms of bacteria that undergo this photosynthesis also uses what we call bacteriochlorophyll. So let's look at how they do that. So they trap light energy using a pigment called bacteriochlorophyll and use carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide instead of water as the raw materials. So here, we are using hydrogen sulfide instead of water as the raw materials. So when bacteria contains bacteriochlorophyll, basically it combines carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide as the raw materials. Because we all know that we combine carbon dioxide and water in the normal photosynthesis that we know. Then you get glucose and oxygen as your byproduct. So this form, they trap the sun energy using the bacteriochlorophyll and use carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide instead of water as the raw materials. Therefore, they will not produce oxygen at the end of the reaction. They rather release sulfur as a byproduct instead of oxygen. Therefore, photosynthetic bacteria, these type of photosynthetic bacteria are known as sulfur bacteria, since they use hydrogen sulfide to synthesize food materials. They are therefore known as sulfur bacteria, since they use hydrogen sulfide to synthesize their food materials instead of water. And the bacteriochlorophyll exists in two different forms. One looks green, the other looks purple. Therefore, we can also say that the two groups of this bacteriochlorophyll which undergo photosynthetic bacteria are green sulfur bacteria and purple sulfur bacteria. You can also call them that. Green sulfur bacteria and purple sulfur bacteria. Since we call them sulfur bacteria because they use hydrogen sulfide instead of water, you can also group them back and say that they are green sulfur bacteria and purple sulfur bacteria, because the bacteriochlorophyll that exists in them, the color, one is green, the other is purple. That also gives the name. This process of photosynthesis is called androgenic photosynthesis. Androgenic photosynthesis, since oxygen is not produced. So if you use hydrogen sulfide in the photosynthesis process and release sulfur at the end of the product, but you don't use oxygen, we are saying that we call it androgenic photosynthesis. And therefore, we have what we call anosogenic photosynthetic bacteria. So we have anosogenic photosynthetic bacteria. They use carbon dioxide, but they do not release oxygen during photosynthesis. I'm saying that they use carbon dioxide, but they do not release oxygen during photosynthesis. Remember, the oxygenic photosynthetic bacteria, I said that they contain chlorophyll, and they therefore do the normal photosynthesis that as other plants do. Now, let's look at differences between photosynthesis in plants and anosogenic photosynthetic bacteria. So we can include the cyanobacteria for plants. If you look at some of the differences, you do that. So plants and algae, they use water as the electron donor, while the anosogenic photosynthetic bacteria use hydrogen sulfide. Normal photosynthesis in plants and algae produces oxygen. This one, they produce sulfur. The next one is that they do not produce water. But this one, they produce water. Now, in plants and animals, so if you look at the photosynthesis, you produce carbon dioxide, glucose, oxygen, water. Now, this chlorophyll is present in this one, but there's bacteriochlorophyll in this one. And then, because it contains chlorophyll, then it must have chloroplast in the cells. But this one have no chloroplast in the cells. So these are some of the differences. Now, let's look at the chemosynthetic nutrition. The chemosynthetic nutrition is a type of autotrophic nutrition in which some microorganisms use energy from chemical reaction, such as oxidation, in the environment to produce organic food substances. In this nutrition, the energy is not derived from sunlight, as in what we have already discussed, but rather is derived from chemical reactions to run the process. Chemosynthesis occurs in veins at the bottom of the ocean, caves, and deep inside rocks where light is unavailable for photosynthesis. So very deep seas and in rocks and in both caves, there is no light, but you find living things there. And these living things are basically bacteria. And these bacteria undergo what we call chemosynthesis. They are using chemicals, energy from chemicals, to speed up their reaction, but they are not actually using sunlight. So there's no light there. That's what we call chemosynthetic nutrition. Now, there are sources of energy in chemosynthesis include hydrogen sulfide, methane gases, ammonia, and iron. These chemicals serve as a source of energy that drive the reaction in chemosynthesis. And because of that, some of them even give their name. So we have hydrogen bacteria, sulfide bacteria, and all. So the bacteria, some of them get their name from these chemicals that they use. Let's look at some of the comparison between photosynthesis and chemosynthesis. Photosynthesis uses sunlight as a source of energy. Chemosynthesis uses chemicals as their source of energy. For you to undergo photosynthesis, you must have chlorophyll. So if you don't have chlorophyll, you cannot. But chemosynthesis do not need chlorophyll. Then, in the processes of photosynthesis, at the end of the process, you produce complex organic substances, which is the food. But chemosynthesis do not produce complex substances. In photosynthesis does not involve inorganic oxidation reaction, but chemosynthesis involves inorganic oxidation reactions. Now, let's look at some similarities between the two and go. We said that both use inorganic substances to produce the food. Then both manufacture organic substances. That's basically what it is. This one using they both use inorganic substances to produce or manufacture organic substance, which is the food. So basically that is the similarity. You should also know that autotroph organisms are known as producers in an ecosystem, because without them, no ecosystem can survive, because they produce all the food within the environment. They are the ones that are able to convert inorganic things into organic food for other organisms to depend on. So we say they are producers. Without producers, no life can survive. So that is the end of today's lesson. We have looked at what we call nutrition. We'll have looked at nutrition, and we look at the importance. We look at autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. But we have concentrated on autotrophic nutrition, and we have discussed the types around autotrophic nutrition. The next lesson, we will look at heterotrophic nutrition and see where the organisms are not able to manufacture their own food but depends on other organisms. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Goodbye, and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.